You must wear that dog out all the time.
But he's always tired.
It's always sleeping every time we see it. Good chance.
Do we have a timeline on this?
I think we're going to be fine. We're kind of a little slow here. The facility is looking for a microphone for the. If that one doesn't materialize shortly, we will proceed.
That's right.
That guy's amazing. I could tell he was What lodge do you belong to? Okay. Oh. You belong to Brewster Lodge, Masonic Lodge? What lodge do you belong to, Brewster?
Oh, no, I'm down in, actually, I belong to a lodge in Oklahoma, Grandfield, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Hey, do you live up here?
I live in Oregon, yeah.
Oh, okay. So do you go to a lodge up there?
Not yet.
Okay.
We can connect with anybody to get transferred up.
Okay, yeah, you're always welcome. I'm a member of OMAC in Okanogan down there. So, yeah, you're free. If you ever want to come down to one of ours, let me know.
If this once I've been to a meeting, I don't
You
think
know what?
I
I know.
remember I was raised back in 1999, I think it was, and then I had a trucking company. I went on the road.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've actually settled down long enough
Where you can, yeah.
to go to a lodge. So, yeah, it's on my, I'm on the city council up there now, too. So I'm getting involved as much as I can. So, the lodge, I guess, is closed now, through December.
Yeah, we go, usually most of our, up and down the valley, we go dark during the summer because of harvest and stuff. And usually, September is when we reconvene usually.
I'm at the range, too. So
Oh.
coexist there in that same role. So
What's your name?
Mike Martha.
Oh, I'm Scott Perez. Yeah. Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah.
I'm Bill. Call you Mike. It's good to meet you. You have a set of jump wings.
Yes.
Army?
Army and Air Force both, actually. I got my basic wings in the Army, and then I went to the Air Force Academy as an instructor, helped start their parachute school, and then I got asked to come into Air Force Reserves for 1 year and pararescue, and 28 years later I retired.
You know. Yeah, I'm a retired senior chief.
Army or Air Force?
Navy.
Okay.
Navy.
All right, now you got all my goodies.
I tell people after 36 years, I understand it, so they threw me out.
Yeah, really, they leave. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Check on Heather.
common name down there where I live, right on the Texas-Oklahoma border. It's kind of an unusual last name.
It is. It's possible. My grandparents were from the South. My grandfather actually built the courthouse in St. Joseph's, Missouri, that's on the National Historic Registry. And so it's possible, and particularly if it's spelled the same.
Yeah, same. That's why I was on pretty active when I lived down there in rural Oklahoma on different chamber and board of directors and various state organizations. And so that name is right around Grandfield was a very common,
Yeah,
common name.
yeah. It's possible. It's very possible. My folks, my parents went on their first date at the Ellis Ford Green.
Okay.
So we have been here a very, very long time.
Oh, okay, just leave them in there, I'll call somebody.
Yeah, Ellis
Where'd they
and
get
Ford.
out of there, see?
Yeah, exactly. But it's
Okay.
distinctly possible.
Well, I got hit me.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, thanks. Bye. My horses out on the road.
Welcome, everyone. We have technical difficulty with the too many community events going on tonight in the football game's got a mic and the school board has a mic and there's only so many to go around. So we will start with some introductions and then we'll get started. If everybody kind of sticks together and be a little quiet, we should all be able to hear. Okay, I'm Jerry Osmundson. I'm the board chair this year, and we have other commissioners.
Bill? I'm Bill Collier. I'm District 2 Commissioner, which encompasses most of the Menal Valley, Brewster, most of the way to Okanogan, Malott, and some other regional areas.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Oh, you bet. How's that? Okay. My name's Bill Collier. I'm the District 2 Commissioner. Covers the Menal Valley, Brewster, South Okanogan, all the way to South Okanogan. And am pleased to be here this evening. Looking forward to what your questions are.
Scott Verasco, District 1, OMAC.
Steve Taylor, General Manager.
And then we have some staff with us. We have Jerry Tim, who is our Director of Regulatory Affairs. Wendy Focht, our Administrative Assistant in the General Manager's office. And Mindy Morse, our Manager of Customer Service, sitting on the end of the
Bleachers.
bleachers. Okay, this is designed to be a public comment portion of our regular meeting, and we have had some requests to get out to the different outlying parts of the county, and so it's easier for people to access. So if you've already commented at another venue, please let those who have trouble traveling that far have a chance first. But it looks like our size of our group, everybody should have an opportunity to. And then please state your name when you speak so we can accurately take notes to improve our record-keeping process. With that, who wants to be first? Yes, ma'am.
Had a few things to say, so I'm going to read. My name is Mayawa, and I'm from the Methow Valley, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to submit comments regarding Okanogan PUD's proposed reconstruction and energization of the Enloe Dam. I'd like to address the board tonight on 3 areas of concern: history, rate debt burdens, and disregard of ratepayer voices and the expertise of state and federal agencies. So first with the history. I've attended many Okanogan PUD public forums and hundreds of PUD board meetings over the last 30-plus years. I've been involved in PUD issues longer than all of your times together with the utility. In those meetings, I've witnessed numerous occasions when the Okanogan PUD board and management moved forward plans and financial commitments that failed to deliver what the PUD claimed regarding benefits, costs, and impacts. Beginning with the failed investment in nuclear generation at Hanford, to Okanogan PUD's $16 million spent on diesel generators that were never used and sold for half of the cost investment of ratepayer dollars. To the TP power line in the Methow Valley, which had cost overrides far beyond the PUD's claimed costs for that project. This project required an environmental impact statement where the PUD stated impacts. During actual construction, the PUD put in a road to E-Pole site, disregarding their promises to ratepayer and to the agencies who expressed concerns. Okanogan PUD has demonstrated a continued trail of broken promises, claims, impacts, and negotiations. Okanogan PUD's word and actions are not credible, and I do not trust the claims and numbers being presented in this Enloe proposal either. Historically, Okanogan PUD has been unable to keep up with present infrastructure updates and upgrades, with many poles and lines being used way past their warranty life expectancy. Why would Okanogan PUD want to add more infrastructure upkeep when you are already overwhelmed and behind on today's upkeep? Second point, rate and debt burdens. Okanogan PUD has the luxury of spending other people's monies. Cost overrides are made up by the ratepayers through continued rate increases. Rate increases have always been the direction the Okanogan PUD has turned to recover from poor investment decisions. Unfortunately, it is the residential customers in this room and in the utilities ratepayer base who pay the most, since Okanogan industry and commercial ratepayers are given subsidies and reduced rates, which are less than is charged to the general public. By PUD estimates themselves, the cost to operate Enloe would exceed the revenue generated by Enloe. My third point of concern is the disregard of ratepayer voices and the expertise of state and federal agencies. The Bureau of Land Management, the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife, the First Nations people of the Colville Confederated Tribes, and the National Marine Fisheries Services have all expressed concerns and opposition to the proposed reconstruction and energization of Enloe. These are the keepers of the rivers. They are the experts who've been given the task of overseeing projects that may bring harm to river habitats. You are pushing this project with blatant disregard of professional opinions regarding river health and impacts. As I stated earlier in my comments, I have witnessed many times when ratepayers have made comments of concern to the Okanogan PUD board and management. Each time, ratepayers' opposition to proposed projects far outweighed support for Okanogan ratepayer dollar investment. The PUD's failed investments also outweigh this. This proposed project will result in rate increases as the cost over benefit analysis shows the inevitable. The minuscule amount of power generated over the outrageous cost burdens will once again be passed along to the ratepayers. You are public utility. You are to represent the ratepayers in a fully responsible manner. You are responsible for making decisions that take the health of our rivers and the concerns of the experts into consideration. And I'll continue to follow this issue, and I'll hope that maybe a new page is going to be turned within this board and management where these issues are given greater concern. Thank you so much.
Amen.
Who wants to be next?
I have some questions. Are you willing to answer questions?
Public comment, if there's simple questions that we can answer, but public comments, usually a public board listens to them and then we weigh
I
them.
have questions. Hopefully
Okay.
they can be
Do-
answered, particularly by a manager
Do
who's
you-
supposed to know what's going on.
Okay.
My name is Kathleen Kirstein. Do you want me to walk down here?
No, you're fine there if everybody can hear you, because,
I'm trying to project my voice.
yeah,
so
no, I just needed your name for,
Is that okay? Can you hear me? Okay. I'm an old school teacher, so I'm used to projecting my voice. So I'm Kathleen Kirstein. I live in Carlton in the Methow Valley. I've attended hundreds of meetings, PUD meetings, over 15 years with Mayala. And I never feel like we're really respected or heard. My first question is, how much megawatts will the Enloe Dam generate? Steve, do you know that?
I would have to refer to my staff that have historic on it, and that'd be Jerry, Tim.
So, Jared.
No, not Jerry Osmus.
That one.
Jerry, Tim.
Oh. 4.5 megawatts?
Average.
4.5.
right,
Okay. And how many megawatts does the Tenasca area use at this time?
20, 19 to 20.
yeah, it's
Okay,
peaked
so
at
it's
19.
doing 20. And how about Oroville? How many megawatts do they use currently?
That one will be harder, because we're working on Tenasca right now, so we're dealing with those numbers. That's why those are at the tip of our tongue.
Would Oroville be greater or less than, do you think, than Tenasca?
Probably
Oh, it's less than, yeah.
It would be what?
It's less.
So should we say 15?
I,
I won't hold you to you, but
Yeah.
15 is less than 20.
right.
So I'm gonna go for 15. Currently, how many megawatts does the entire Okanogan PUD use?
Our-
70.
The 70s are.
We're average 70 for the year.
That's what I understood. So, we have, the PUD has a legal access to 235 megawatts from the Wells Dam that is guaranteed to us in perpetuity. So, now we're using 70, and we have the option with no Enloe Dam to have 235. That's like 3 times or something? At least twice?
You want me to answer that, Jerry? Or
6
no?
times what we
Right.
are currently using, that we will get from Wells Dam.
But it's gotta be above our current load. It's got
Yeah.
to grow in it. We don't get
We don't get
We
it.
can't get it down into the 70 with that load.
So it's only new load going on from this point forward. So everything up to that date,
If that 8% we used to have is
Right.
perpetuity, the 22%, you have to grow that much load to get that power.
you have to grow into it.
Exactly, so, but we haven't grown, so
Right.
we don't have the need, but when we do have the need, we go,
Correct.
right? So,
But the
if
8,
the Enloe is gonna give us 4.5,
right,
and we can have 235, I don't get it. I don't get why you wanna go for all this money for 4.5.
but all of our load is wells either.
We get BPA, I
Right,
get that.
and
And
they're,
Nine Canyon went
they're
from-
on this kind of a glide path. Their current rate cases,
4.5,
well, yeah,
4.5.
but anyway,
I
right,
just wanted to make that clear.
right.
That was my understanding.
The size and scale is what you were after, right?
And it doesn't seem like when we're going to pay twice the money to deal with the Enloe to generate 4.5 megawatts, that doesn't seem like a good deal to me, and I'm not a math person. That seems like a really bad idea.
You had a lot of numbers for not being a math person.
So I am recommending that you do not move forward with environmentally disastrous Enloe Dam project for the cost it's going to pay, that we will pay as ratepayers, all of us lined up here tonight, and the fact that you're getting 4.5 megawatts. Bad idea.
Yes.
I have a rather simple question. Who actually supports this? My name's John Hawley. I live Finley Canyon Road in Twist. Who supports the whole thing?
You'd be surprised the number of people that,
Well, can you tell us? Let's hear a little bit about that.
well, and when I go to coffee, a lot of the gentlemen there ask me when they're getting their Enloe power.
A lot of guys
How
having
will they,
coffee.
how will they know if they have Enloe power?
Well,
EPA
I
power,
have no idea. That's just the question they put to me.
And are they going to receive a cut rate, industrial, commercial, rates, these guys in coffee?
No, most of them are senior citizens, just,
Are they aware of have they been involved in your budgeting, so that are they aware of your, not mine,
right.
not
No,
supposed,
these are
but
just the
your
question.
projected rate increases effect on
Right.
senior citizens?
Right.
Do you
The-
tell them, oh, I don't know when you're gonna get it, but you're not gonna like it because your rates are gonna go up? Are you honest with
Yes.
with your constituents?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And they go, good, raise my rates, Jerry, that's,
Oh, but some of them have historical ties to it and stuff, and so, you know,
To the dam?
yeah.
Well, so what?
Yeah, but if your father worked on something, you would have a historical, reminiscent idea to it, you know, and there are people like that.
And that floats with all you guys? What is that?
No, but I'm not saying that's our justification, that's just people comment, okay? Anyway, and you're John, and you live up to Canyon.
Yeah, yeah.
See, I was paying attention. Okay, who wants to be next? The guy, oh, he's gonna let you go first, okay.
Well, I was just gonna ask if you might just provide a snapshot of where we stand with the design-build contract?
That would be helpful.
We're still in phase one?
And you folks have just approved a supplemental budget of $200,000 to deal with any shortfalls in the scope of work?
No, that was to change the scope of work because FERC requested that we do some dam safety work that was scheduled to do in the regular contract to do it now.
It was supposed to be done in phase 2, and we moved it up to phase 1 because of their request for dam safety things that we needed to do.
who's they?
FERC. What's that? No, we've been doing it. These are things that they want us to do.
That was originally in the license to do,
Dewatering of the face of the dam
right,
has been there for a few
right. But
Yeah.
it is also, was also put in there too, as part of the
Construction.
whole project. And, but wanted to do it.
Why did it get put into phase 2 in the first place? Why did the road improvement get put into phase 2?
To bundle it, because large projects are a lot more efficient to do in,
Do you think the roads are important to get into this?
Yeah, on that other side it is. During the high waters, we had issues. Part of our dam safety is we have to have access in case of something happening. We need to be over there for monitoring equipment. So we had to fix the road on the other side of the river and the bridge.
yeah.
It was done to be done in phase 2, but we moved it up into phase 1 to get, because we needed access, because we're required by FERC to have access at all times.
That's part of what the 200,000 was for, the bridge repair and road repair and that stuff.
We did that, yeah, it's on the trail, as you guys may know, the trail that goes back up through there. We talked with the county extent, but the county's was broke. I mean, they couldn't, they did help us with the culvert part of it, but, we needed to have access for the left toe of the bridge. I guess it'd be looking at left toe of the bridge and, you know, monitoring equipment during, this was historic high waters, which the dam held up very well, and, that's why we had to go ahead and get that portion done now. And we talked to them and said, look, we'd like to do it over time, you know, but FERC said that we needed to have that access now in case of,
What was the 200,000 for planned for in phase 2?
that was, The dam safety for dewatering, the tow, the dam for inspection. Am I right, Jerry?
Yeah, so, show me if I can.
Well, yeah,
We signed our contract with CUNY in April, May 1st, which is a public letter. FERC issued this letter requesting specific dam safety tasks be addressed. The previous intent was that the dam would be dewatered after the project was constructed, which I would think most people would agree that it's now being moved to the front end of the construction, so it's gonna be a phased construction, and that's gonna meet FERC's requirement, and in order to do that, we had to move design and work that's a part of phase 2 into phase 1, so some of it's gonna be taking it beyond 30% design, with the goal of dewatering it, the dam sooner.
Can I ask a question? You are using tenses that indicate that you've made your decision already to move forward.
no, what she's saying is regardless whether the dam sits in place or not, we have to follow their dam safety protocols. The FERC, yeah, so this is part of our whole dam safety program that we have to follow, and this is part of it. And so we moved it away from the construction to up front because that's what they requested from us. Because of, I don't know the name of the dam that was in. Huh? Because when it was in phase 2, instead of spending the money up front to do it like we're gonna do it now, it was gonna be in phase 2, so when we were doing construction and we were doing the dewatering anyways for construction, we were just gonna tie it all in with that and save cost. Then FERC said, no, we wanna do this now. I guess they've had problems with, I don't know.
Dam failure.
Well, they had that California one, and so they're really leery, and they want us to inspect it, so they said, let's do it now, which it's part of the dam safety program, and we have to do what they say, and so that's why we moved it out of 2 to phase 1. And that's just being as honest as I can be, because I went to the FERC meeting with Jerry down in Portland. So I was sitting there.
Somebody else? And you were, yeah.
I'm an admitted Enloe dummy. Can I
What's your
get-
name?
Gary Headley is my
Gary,
name.
oh, Gary Headley, okay.
Can I get a simple answer of why you're in favor of this?
Individually or?
Yeah.
Well, but,
With
personally,
everything that's been said, that's what
right,
comes to
right.
my mind.
To me, it was a matter of, you either have something that's working for you or it's a burden to you, and, I'm in favor of keeping, making workable assets.
Is that an answer?
Even if it goes in the hole?
But we haven't got to that number yet. A lot of people have a number out there, but we haven't got to a what it's gonna cost number.
Yeah, John Hawley again for Twist, Washington. If you remove the dam, it doesn't cost anything in the future. It's not gonna maintain.
Right.
Okay, well, it's, and I also want to know if it really matters to have meetings like this. If it's true that the PUD hasn't really taken into account the studies, all the state agencies, the, meetings like this, the record of PUD making multi-million-dollar purchases like generators. What's the point of listening to us if you're hearing us? You're not really. It's a comment, so it's not a question. You want to react to that?
I'm a voracious reader. I'm looking at everything everybody sends me and all the alternative kind of options that are out there. And I like new perspective and that's my perspective on it.
How about you other fellas?
Design phase, I don't know what the true number is yet.
But I mean, if there's so much opposition, why are you even designing it?
Yeah, but I know. What I'm saying is,
They're kind of stupid questions, I suppose, but.
no, and we hear you, and trust me, I read the emails like Jerry do, and we read everything, and I understand. You guys are your group, and God bless you, your opinions, they do matter. We hear other opinions from around the county. I've been at the county fair, people are excited about it. I've heard a lot of people pro. I mean, they're kind of like the silent majority. You guys are very vocal, which is very good.
So what are they excited
Oh.
about? Yeah. What are they excited about?
Well, people are saying they'd rather have it work for them than tear it out and cost hundreds or tens of millions. Who knows? They don't know. That's what they don't want to be burdened by. Yeah, but nobody knows that.
This isn't a debate.
This isn't a debate, so I'm just saying,
You asked
that's
them
what
a
they,
question.
that's what they say.
Okay.
I-
No,
I will tell you,
okay. Bill.
my name's Bill Collier. I'm a retired senior chief, okay? So I'm used to going out and looking for information. Gary, are you from OMAC?
Yeah.
Hello.
I
Did
haven't
two
seen
go
you
to
in a
school
very
together?
long time.
Yeah.
I'm used to going out and looking for information. And the information that I found, and the reason that I support the re-energizing Enloe, is because it puts the ratepayer at an enormous risk to take it out. I looked at the cost of what it costs to remove dams, and it can be astronomical. I looked at what's upstream from Enloe, and it can be very, very troublesome. There was gold mining, there was mining up there, and quite frankly, there's still some gold mining up there, though it isn't large scale. But I also look at what does the ratepayer get from this if we energize it? Well, they make money from it. You get something from it. If it's torn out, what happens? Well, that depends on how much residue is behind it. And the cost of that could be astronomical, because it will go all the way to the confluence of the Okanogan and Columbia. Okay. I also look at what is most likely. I look at fish runs. Okay. I have not found. I know Steve has some information that I have not got from him yet, but I have not found any information that said there was ever a fish run up the Similkameen, ever. So when people talk about returning a fish run to the Similkameen, I don't believe there was ever a fish run up there. When I talk about, okay, our fish ladders and things put in there, you get into issues with the British Columbia provincial government, who is adamantly opposed to that. So there are numerous risks I am simply unwilling to take and spend the ratepayers' money. I'm just simply unwilling to take that risk.
This gentleman we passed over earlier.
I'm not passing over it. I'm Mike Marthaler from Moorville. I am on the city council, but I hear as a private citizen concerned about this. Bill, I appreciate you bringing up the thing about the possible issues, what's behind the dam. Because I was at an economic development meeting here a few months ago and was discussing one of the employees, with one of your employees, who brought that up as a concern, why we may be putting this dam in is to prevent in the near future if you use the figure $75 million bill for cleaning up. So my question is, if we do it now, we invest ratepayers' money of however this is going to cost. I'm going to say probably $100 million, knowing how cost overruns go. I'm retired government military, so I do know a bit about cost overruns. And so if we invest our money in now, so we don't have to deal with what's behind that dam, eventually the dam's going to come out. It's going to fail. I don't see how we can avoid that. So then, as a ratepayer, we are lost the power that you say we're going to get. We have invested the money to put the generator in, and we are probably still going to be on the hook for the cleanup fee. So I raise that as a question when we balance all this about fish. I also have family in British Columbia. I do engage with the people up there, and yes, there's some disagreement about the fish coming up, but on the other hand, there's also a lot of people who seem to have a lot of information, and in fact, yes, the fish did go up beyond the falls here. And I see our area here as what we have is unique. We have people who come from all over the world to hike our trails, look at our rivers. We cannot replace that. We have alternate ways of getting electricity. And I know I don't mean to sound like I'm talking down to you guys, because I know you pay attention, but you know, solar is a big thing coming. We have a lot of alternatives on the horizon that will bring us electricity, but we have alternatives. So are we really making the best decision overall with the future of this country to maintain it what it is, which is a real economic boom? And are we taking a risk of down the road losing the power and having to pay, let's say, a double fee? The figure that the gentleman gave me was just about, I think it was 75 million to clean up. So if we're out, anyway, you can see where I'm going with this. Again, I appreciate these meetings. I appreciate that you folks are here listening. And because I sit on the other side of that table sometimes, I realize these issues are complex. So, thank you.
My name is Jasmine Hibachi. I live right here in the Nephthys River. I have so many questions to ask you, so I'll just try to limit it to a few.
Could you say your name again?
Jasmine.
Okay, Jasmine.
The first set of questions related to what this gentleman mentioned over here, and that's the sources of energy that currently are powering the PUD. Do you have an approximate percentage of the different types of sources for your energy, like what percentage is from hydro and what percentage from nuclear, that kind of thing?
We have a fuel mix report is public information, but because it's under I-937, right, Steve?
Yes.
We have to report that, but it varies day by day and hour by hour, depending on where they're getting their firming power from.
Roughly though?
The state of Washington, as an average, is 91% renewable.
I mean, like, in Okanogan, is it for the PUD, what percentage is hydro and what?
The majority of this hydro,
Yeah.
and a very high percentage because of the wells stuff. But when we get the BPA stuff, because they have to use firm power, and sometimes it comes from Columbia Generating Station, sometimes it comes from Colstrip.
Have you guys considered, I do have a budget that looks at diversifying sources of power on hydro?
We currently own part of Nine Canyon Wind Farm.
Okay. Do you have plans beyond that? For example, this gentleman over here mentioned solar. I'm just curious, are you investing anything in looking at solar for the future? Is there any budget in your budget? Do you have anything allocated for that?
The only portion we have in that is the state program for where we can
Net metering
and for individuals to work on their own systems. Because currently they aren't competitive with hydro. So.
The other question I had was regarding just information that's being used to make decisions. I think there's a lot of conflicting and competing information, and clearly some disagreement on the and I was wondering if the PUD would consider pulling together a stakeholder group that had representation from concerned citizens, but also maybe some people who support the dam, to come together and look at the information available with fresh eyes to help the PUD make a decision. Is that something you would consider doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we look at options all the time.
Is that something that you feel help local authorities make good decisions that are supported from a broader segment of the community by engaging those stakeholder groups. Was that something you would consider?
I think that's something, you know, of that scale, we would have to debate at some length rather than commit to it just because of our, especially since our timeline constraints are where they are.
Great. Well, I hope you do consider it. I think it could move us forward in a positive way, and I'm also seeing that this Enloe Dam issue is becoming beyond just a local big issue. It's becoming a statewide issue with increased concern of Chinook salmon runs and how that's affecting the orcas. And we have a representative on the Orca Task Force representing Okanogan County. So it's a big deal statewide, and it looks like we might be able to play a role in that. So I think we should take that responsibility seriously. And I think forming some kind of group like that would help in making us make a good decision so that we can be part of that statewide solution.
Yeah, good idea.
We'll get you to you, Chris, but,
This is a key point, though.
Right.
This is a key point, what she just stated.
right, but,
Just let me,
no, this lady hasn't had a chance to talk yet, so.
Okay.
I'm Isabel Stone, I live in Twist, I've been to several meetings. The last time, however, that I was at a PUD meeting in Brewster was when I taught here. I taught sixth grade, and the generators were a big question. I had my class study that issue, and I remember one of my girls, sixth grader, standing up and saying that she opposed it because she didn't think those generators could be sold at a good price if we had to do it, and we all know what happened. This is starting to remind me of that, and then several of the other students followed up with Percy, the editor, once said, why are the commissioners mean and won't listen to people? Anyway, so the reason it's reminding me of that is that we're hearing there's a lot of support for this, but where are these people? All I've heard so far, and I keep wondering, what is the movement, the power behind this? Why are the commissioners so insistent upon doing this project with all of the questions that are out there? It's reminding me because obviously the research hadn't been done on the generators. Even a sixth grader thought this was a big issue, and it turned out to be true. Where were the facts? And right now, where are the facts about where the support is? All I'm hearing is a bunch of old farmers at coffee. That's all I'm hearing about who the supporters were, or some people that come up to me at the fair. But where are they now? I don't see them, and I've seen a few at some of the other meetings, but I would like to know why they're not here, and I know you don't know that. So moving on, I think Jasmine's idea is a good one. I haven't seen that happen. It's usually a question why the county or why the PUD might form this kind of a committee or that kind of a committee or not do it. But I definitely think you've got some talent in this county. I remember when I went to the generator meeting, a friend of mine who was the first woman who had graduated from Georgia Tech gave the exact figures of what could be saved by changing light bulbs in comparison with what could be gained by the generators, and she was not heard. So finally, I'm concerned about the cost of litigation on top of with feeling that this hasn't, the facts aren't really out there in a concrete enough way for regular citizens to understand. There are points that are being brought up that are very good. There's already litigation underway as far as I know. And I mean, this could go on for a long time. Finally, I wonder why there are pictures of salmon under the dam if salmon have never used this stream. Videos, why is that? And maybe you can answer.
Well, the pictures that I saw, ma'am?
Videos, I don't know whose there are.
Yeah, I saw a picture.
I don't know who's in possession of them.
Yeah, I don't either. But I did see pictures.
So you,
Yeah, I did see pictures. And then when I talked to the environmental coordinator at the PUD, and I asked several questions about, okay, what keeps the fish from going up Enloe? And really, the depth of the pool at the falls, it simply isn't deep enough. Now, does that mean that there's not a fish that is strong enough to get up over those falls? No, it doesn't. In the picture that I saw, there was a fish, literally a fish, trying to get over that dam, and you couldn't hardly blame the old guy for doing that, because, you know, he got over the falls. But from my perspective, that does not constitute a fish run. And that's a fish, okay? And I will tell you that Enloe Dam was built in 1923. 1913. Wow, that's older than I thought. So if you're talking to somebody who is indeed would like to see the Similkameen restored, you're talking to a very, very old person. Okay, I doubt that there's anyone around today that has ever seen the Similkameen without that dam in it. Okay, it was originally built by Washington Water Power in 1913.
Are you saying we don't know if there were ever salmon?
No, I'm saying I have never found conclusive evidence that there was a salmon run up the Similkameen.
This means that there never could be one.
No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. It means that there never has been that. That's all.
Okay,
1923 is not ever,
no,
forever.
okay.
Well, again, I can't, I've not seen evidence to the contrary.
Right, I'm trying to get through the people that, you know, are new to our last one. Chris isn't new. But we will get to you. Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Frew, and I'm a third-year resident of Okanogan County. I live out in suburban Carlton near Bill.
All right.
Similar haunts. And I would first of all just like to say that from my point of view, it sounds like it's a relatively insignificant amount of power that Enloe Dam would generate that would be easily replaced. And in the long term, I think that that's a pretty small stake compared to the significant value of the watershed. And one thing I'd like to just point out to the commissioners is that there was a question asked about why you all supported this project, and I don't believe that Steve ever did address that. It would be helpful for us to hear why each of you find this to be an important project to support. But my other thought to you that I'd really like to hear you address. Bill, you were talking about how you would really want to see some value, some positive value come, and that you felt that if the dam stayed in place and was let right, that there would be a positive return. What I've yet to hear any of you address is the value and return that we get from an intact watershed, and when restoring the watershed, what the value of that watershed would be. There are thousands of small dams like Enloe throughout the West. There's very few restored, healthy watersheds. The gentleman from Okanogan, I didn't catch his name unfortunately, really addressed the value, I think, of some of these watersheds, what's unique in this area. We have something special here in Okanogan County, and it's centered around the water and the watersheds. We all know that, right? I mean, that's where your electric power comes from, but it's also where a lot of the riparianisms, the riches for biomass and biodiversity, it's the center of life here in Okanogan County. And so I would be curious to hear, since I'm not hearing any value the watershed aside from the dam, whether you do indeed see it as valuable in any form or manner. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Yeah, and if Steve could respond to the earlier question, if any of you would address that, I'd really appreciate it to hear what your thoughts are. Thank you. Okay, well,
There was a lot of them tied into that one.
let me clarify. The original question, I believe, Rick, this fellow, I'm sorry.
Gary.
Gary, excuse me, asked was to have each of you address the reasons you support the Enloe Dam project, and Steve did not address that. So I'm secondly, I would like to hear any of you address the issue of other values that you see in this watershed, the Enloe Dam, whether you see any positives or what would be the benefits that you would see gained from decommissioning the dam and restoring the watershed. Do you see any? I haven't heard you say if you think there's any benefits.
Just to be fair to Steve, he's been on the job for 2 months now, and we're his bosses, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, perhaps that was unfair.
How long does it
Right,
take?
right, but he's charged with the task also, right?
Well, Steve, do you support the dam? I mean, are you been on the job long enough to support it? I don't know. If you don't support it, I guess it's a moot point. If you have reasons to support it, we will hear them.
Well, I'd have to say, excuse me, boy, I'd have to say that Jerry's correct. I've been in this job for 2 months. I am trying to come up to speed as quickly as possible, reading all the information, historical and present, trying to look at all points of views and all points of sides, trying to make an informed recognition of where the board has already acknowledged and started moving forward, and I'm going to kill this fly.
I know, he's been testing.
And right now, I am not in a position to say one way or the other, personally or as the general manager. As a general manager, I support what the board has made a decision to do. It's my job then to ensure that we take into consideration all the values of the opinions that are given, take in consideration all the costs associated, and to take a look at where we stand and where we come from and how we're going to get where we're going to go. But the reality of it is to ask me what my personal opinion is, it doesn't matter. So the reality of it is that I do work for this district. I do work and I do love this community. I wouldn't have moved here if I didn't. I'm from Moses Lake originally. I grew up in Moses Lake. I love the Columbia Basin. I love all that. I camped at Camp Bonaparte almost every winter with the Scouts, so I know the area. So I have value in the watershed. I have value in the mountains. I have value in the community. But I also have an understanding too that we have a utility to run that provides services to all of our customers. And oftentimes, the majority of the customers don't wish to voice their opinion. Does that give me an excuse to justify their point? No. But it gives me an opportunity to hear your point and then try to go out in different organizations like the Kiwanis and other groups and invite them to comment and try to do that. So we're already past the point of, can I make a decision that's going to alter the board or give them further information? I think not. The reality of it is that's their goal, is to go out and listen to the community. I see many of you shaking your head like we're not listening. We're listening, but we're also taking into consideration all the studies, all the information we're given, and all the legal requirements that we have to follow. And so we're taking that into strong consideration of where we're going. In the process of doing the design build, we're held with confidentiality to the individuals that are trying to do the work so they don't get interfered with in presenting what their facts of findings are on all situations. It's just like if you're going to do a bid for your roof, are you going to go out and ask everybody to give you the same bid and tell them what the last bid was? Probably not. So we're trying to do this within the law, within the boundaries we've been given, within the direction the board has already made, and I'll continue to support that. And I'm willing to sit here and let you pick on me, or if that's what you want to do, or talk to me. My door is always wide open, and I'm here to listen and try to become educated on the points of view that you have and everybody else has. Jasmine, was it?
Jasmine.
I appreciate the fact that there's an opportunity maybe down the road that we can have a interaction with a task force that's authorized by the board, because that has to be authorized by the board. And so those are considerations that we might take into consideration at a further date. And so that's a real good point. But the reality of it is that we are trying to do what's best for all the public. And I understand there's emotion associated with it. I understand there's feelings associated with it. I understand there's also facts associated with it. And it depends on where we get our facts. We try to get our facts in the correct manner and from those that are in authority to state them. So does that help, or did I just wander all the way around it in your mind?
I guess what I'm getting from you is that either you're not willing to voice your own personal, you are a professional for the utility. I would assume you have a knowledge base in this field that allows you to develop some kind of assessment of the viability and of values that electrification of Enloe Dam would I have to believe you have some thinking about it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And perhaps at this time you wish to keep that to yourself, is kind of what I gather. So I still would like the remaining commissioners to address my other question, which is, what value do you place, if any, on a restored watershed? Let's just say it was a done deal. Let's say it was already done. The dam had been removed. Would that have any value to you? And if so, what would that value be? Is there a benefit?
Wait, no, water in any form has value in the desert, and that's where we're at. I mean, I've done a lot of watershed restoration in my own side of the valley, which is the other side of the valley, but, all to improve that quality of water and the volume of water that we're able to maintain in the system for the benefit of both man and beast.
On a lighter note, what do I value water? I spent 5 hours on Friday trying to catch a fish and didn't catch one. That's what I value.
Well, don't bother going by the dam then.
You can catch a gold thread.
Bill, do you have any thoughts about the watershed and the restoration? Does it hold value to you as
The watershed in and of itself, Chris, does. I don't see the dam as a deterrent to that watershed. The only thing that I see that dam preventing is fish migrating above that dam. That's the only aspect of that watershed that that's the only thing I know of that dam prevents. I looked at, in fact, I talked to guides who take people fishing. I talked to some folks who do whitewater, and well, if that dam was not in place, would there be whitewater rafting? Well, yeah, there would. In spring runoff, there'd be whitewater rafting. 2 or 3 weeks of that. Turns out that whitewater rafters tend to stay in a motel and will eat out occasionally, but really they don't spend a whole lot of money in the community. The trails, the folks walking the trails seem to be, that's actually generates more income. The number of people who fish up the Smilkameen that's fairly small in terms of who's being guided. So I don't. The only drawback that I see, Chris, is that fish cannot get above the dam. That's the only drawback I see. Otherwise, it's a fairly healthy watershed, and this spring that dam held up very well. And I spent a number of years. I spent like 5 or 6 years working at Chief Joe Dam. And while I deeply understand the concern that FERC has for safety in this dam and being driven by the fact that the dam in Chico, California failed, one needs to understand that that is an earthen dam. That was an earthen dam, and they are way different than concrete dams. But this dam, having looked at the safety aspects of it, at this point is doing fine. But I don't see that dam as to outweigh the risks that I see to you as a ratepayer. Does that help, Chris?
I think I want to make sure, I would like hearing Scott also address the topic. You talk a lot about whether the dam is a deterrent, but what I was asking you is how you value the watershed. So I just want to make clear that it's a little bit different, and you did address some of that. That would be my point on that. But
Okay.
I believe you probably considered that. Could Scott pose us the same question?
Watersheds, huh? Well, without skirting around it, I'll tell you, water for my family in the ranching industry is the lifeline for us. I mean, whether we irrigate our crops, I spent a week and a half last week, every day building springs in the mountains to keep cows out of the creek that are currently fixed, so they have alternative light water sources. Nobody values water more than probably me here and Jerry here and even Bill, but you want to ask what I think behind the dam. Yeah, there's some value to it. I listen to Chris. Chris talks to me about some of these things, about fish mitigation up and down the river. I mean, there's people drooling to spend money up and down behind the dam. I understand that. I've been to these meetings with these guys, well, longer than these guys. I've been here the longest, 3 years. I understand it. When it comes down to a decision, I play all that into it. I've looked at it. I know some probably don't agree with me, and that's fine. I understand, I respect people's opinions. I kind of look at it as a business aspect, money-wise, and people will disagree with me, and that's fine. What it costs versus tearing it out, or what it costs versus energizing it. And you can disagree, because I see Rick up there, and I know that he's disagreeing, and I understand. But that's how I look at it, and that's how I've always looked at it. But I agree, there is, up behind the dam, there is an untapped resource of the whole Northwest. I mean, Douglas County, Chelan County PUDs, I mean, all these people that have to do mitigation required by owning all these dams on the river, they're willing to throw money to rebuild things up there, and I understand it. I got it. They have to. They're required by FERC. But when it comes down to our portion of the dam, that's where I'm responsible, and that's what I look at it as the economic sides of it. Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers. That's the best I can.
I was only at one other meeting, and I guess I kind of look at it from the economic standpoint that you just brought up and what you mentioned. Dollars and cents, you guys said that it will never ever profit, so it's just gonna cost money regardless, whether it's 10 cents or $10 million. And if we're gonna have to clean it up at some point, why not do it now? Pay now instead of paying for later.
My understanding is federal dollars to help with cleanup from mining sedimentation bills, so you might look into that to see what kind of money's out there, because it's been available for a lot of other dam situations and other super fund type cleanups and whatnot, so.
That's what we
I don't
try
think
not
that
to
will
get to.
become Okanogan PUD ratepayers' sole responsibility to clean up the sedimentation, and you're misleading people when you cling to that kind of statement and don't bring education into it. That's the problem. As Isabel spoke to with the diesel generators, I mean, 30 years I've watched this board. You're 3 years. I've got 30 years of watching it. And over you guys do the same thing, give half-truths. And people come, and it's not just emotion. People come with education. We've done our research as well. And so I am requesting, I'd like a copy of each of your notes from tonight, because I'd like to see who you heard and what you took in from what we spoke. I would love a copy of that. I'm sending you a copy of my comments. I'd love a copy of your notes to see what you really heard, what you took in, what you understood, what questions you asked for clarification. And I'll work that out afterwards. I'd love a copy of your notes.
What about responding to the point though of why wait? Why not you get it over with and suck it up? The sentiment included. No, she asked a question, you didn't really respond to it.
Right, but it was the same question, other
Well,
than.
and I guess
the
my point was too, you guys earlier said that this was gonna turn a profit at some point in our lifetimes, or our kids' lifetimes, but it really is never gonna turn a profit.
By year
And
40,
that's
it's
what you
supposed
guys
to.
said at the meeting I went to in Okanogan.
Yeah.
That's what you guys said.
That's right. By year 40, it should.
Should doesn't mean.
We don't know until the true cost. We just don't know yet until we know what it costs yet. I mean, it's a,
Have you talked yet? Okay. Can you repeat that?
Paula McEnroe of Twist. And this is my first PUD meeting because in the 39 years I've lived here, I was off the grid on Texas Creek, which was devastated in the fire, and then the flood, and then you built roads on oversteepened hillsides, which you have not abated. Now, the Forest Service is in there abating their fire breaks right now. But your roads are just sitting up there, piles of dust. As soon as the snow is off of them in April, they're piles of dust. There are hunters lined up and ready to run up those hills in ATVs. So we're starting from a point of broken promises. I laughed when I read about the diesel generators because I wasn't a ratepayer. And I laughed at all the other things that the PUD has done over the years because I wasn't a ratepayer. I totally ran my home on solar, including my system, for 39 years.
Are you talking about the roads on the new twist, the Pateros line, the new transmission line?
Each of the pole sites.
30-some pole sites.
Yeah, no, that's
Some of
fine.
them are on like 45-degree slopes. In an area where we had severe erosion, the roads, the culverts washed out twice. So yes, that's what I'm.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to make sure you're referring to.
Okay, and so the PUD has done nothing for my watershed, and now I'm in Twist, and I'm a ratepayer, and I'm on a limited income. When we had to have a power pole moved because you had strung a wire in the history, probably before Scott was born, onto a telephone line in the middle of our driveway. We had to pay to move the line to put in a new pole. And when your guys came out, they looked at the junction box over on the corner and said, "Whoa, we can't hook anything back up to that. We're gonna have to replace that." And when we asked for a 200 amp service, he said, "You could have that, but your neighbors would hate you for it because it couldn't handle the draw from that
Transformer? Or?
that transformer, the new transformer that they put on." So I'm wanting you to understand that out in the community, your system is failing. I have seen systems like this in Mexico, where you can see the sparks on a wet afternoon. Removing a dam, once the initial cost is gone, means there is no more cost. But I have worked in salmon recovery for 20 years. I led the North Olympic Salmon Coalition, which is a sister group to where Bill has worked with Cascade Columbia Salmon Enhancement Group. And over on the Olympic Peninsula. And the story where I learned about salmon was there was an old-time culvert failure that had wiped out a fish run. And the volunteers, 6 years before salmon became a big issue, had gone and gotten eggs and started a new run. And everybody said, "That's fine, but those fish will never go past that culvert because those fish aren't big enough and strong enough to go up the culvert." Well, the county repaired the culvert to current fish standards. And my group with volunteers rebuilt a fish run, and it took them a few years of coming up back into that creek where they'd been wiped out when the culvert blew out. But in 1999, we got our first year return, and that's the year that salmon were listed in the state of Washington. It took us 6 years to get those fish back into that stream.
the funny thing is, in another 3 years, those fish went through that culvert. As they filled up the spawning grounds coming through that stretch, and there was no more place to dig a red, they went through the culvert, where nobody had said that kind of fish could never go up that far. And they went another 1.5 miles up that stream, and that's where they're spawning today. That is one of the major success stories of salmon recovery, and it was done by volunteers, largely by volunteers. And what that tells me, if anybody has seen a Chinook over those falls, butting their heads against your dam, it means that the recovery coming up the Okanogan is starting to fill the available space. And it means that you guys have an incredible opportunity to be the good guys in Okanogan County and not the ones that the solar off-grid people laugh at. You can be the heroes of something like 300 miles of habitat for Chinook. And I've also spent years in I'm a 40-year fishing family who fished Chinook in Alaska. And they have great Chinook fishing in Sitka. But I'll tell you something, the people in Sitka think those are their fish. But I know, living here, those big Chinooks that catch off of Sitka and Southeast Alaska are Columbia River fish, because we get tags. We get a report on every tagged fish, and they come from the Carlton Fish Pond, and they come from every hatchery up here. And so we know how many fish we caught in Sitka that were fostered here. And if you give them a mile, they will take 2 miles. And when you talk about the income from hikers and whether whitewater rafters spend enough money to versus the cost of electricity, those are not watershed values. Those are your economic human values. The watershed values are what fish bring into a watershed where they're eaten by, in some cases it's been proven, they are eaten by over 144 species in the watershed.
I'm one of them. I eat them.
We are just one of them.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, I'm one of them. I eat them.
That is the point. This is a wonderful story, a wonderful opportunity. If any of you have been to Port Angeles, a much bigger community than you guys serve, they fought dam removal for 30 years. And you know what? They lost. And those dams are gone, and there are Chinook in that river. And that is the value to the Olympic Peninsula. All of the electricity for the mill generation was replaced by BPA, by federal mandate. The swans were given new habitat in other people's grain fields because the swans didn't bring the kind of value to the community and the ecology of the national park that the fish will bring when they come. And you guys could start right now working with the tribes, putting female Chinook up there like they did on the Elwha, so that they're already returning to those upper tributaries as soon as you get out of their way. This dam is on federal land. You have mitigation money, you have federal involvement, and that's what, unfortunately, it took 30 years of federal land and federal involvement to get the Elwha dams down. But man, that place is fantastic. Just the fact that the dam's not there is a tourist attraction. It did 7 studies for years. And until you do the sediment study, until you actually recognize how vibrant Chinook are jumpers. Steelhead are jumpers. I worked on recovering chum. Everybody said a chum didn't jump. But they did. And so I really appreciate you listening to us. And I fear that when you said we're a very vocal group, what we are a whole bunch of individual ratepayers with a lot of expertise who pay attention. And I think we could all work with you very well. And I'm glad that we don't have the same guys sitting here that bought the generator all yet. And that we have a potential to slow down and not work on your time frame. Timetables are for railroads. We're talking about watersheds and communities that have to work together.
I think it's Chris's turn over here. I know you'll take full advantage of it.
Go for it. You're right.
Chris Fisher, citizen of Riverside, Washington, and I'm a ratepayer. First, let me begin by responding to the young lady who mentioned that, suggesting that we need a stakeholder committee, and we want to engage with the Okanogan PUD, and we need to authorize that.
Louder, please.
And you need to authorize a stakeholders committee, or you need to authorize it to engage. You already have. You did it in 2015, Resolution 1603, which I'll read. Quote, to take all actions necessary to obtain an extension from FERC of the design phase of Enloe Dam hydroelectric project prior to the June 30th, 2015 deadline, and to continue to work with proponents of dam removal, to review options, and to work with potential generation partners for options on generation. So it already exists. You don't need to create something. You don't need to authorize it. You just need to engage, which I will say, Scott, you and I did for a short period of time, and then the relationship just fizzled.
Me neither. I don't know. What are you
I
talking-
know, I provided a lot of information, but let's move forward. 1603. We talked a little bit about safety of dams, or it's been discussed.
Yeah, I think down on that end, they're having a hard time hearing.
All right.
I know you like to be up front.
Sure. So, talked a little bit about the safety of dams, and we needed to de-water and evaluate it. And I know you guys read a lot. I don't know if you got this memo. This is from the Bureau of Land Management, United States Government, 1971. Important date to remember, 71. Okay, this is from the geologist Maltby. Are you familiar with this document? Okay, so basically they looked at Enloe Dam reservoir, and this is what they stated. Let's see, they talked about how high it was, and et cetera. Let's see here, bedrock, the concrete does appear to be deteriorating, 1971 now. Crazing cracks are very prominent on the top of the dam, and in some areas are on the downstream face of the dam. In some local areas, the concrete is, quote, punky, and some chunks of concrete up to 4 inches square and up to 3/4 inch thick can be readily pulled out of the dam. In very local areas, the concrete has been spalled off to a depth of several inches. The deterioration may be largely due to freeze-thaw, whether some of the deterioration is due to alkali aggregate reaction can only be determined by the laboratory. My point is this: if this is the condition of the dam in 1971, built in 23, right?
Commission in 23, wasn't it?
Okay. My question would be, if I'm going to energize this, what is the longevity of this? You're talking about investing into it. Does it have the longevity to live through the FERC license of 50 more years? If this is 71. So you just need to contemplate that, the condition of the structure itself. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit, or I'm going to talk a little bit about the cost. And we've heard all kinds of numbers numbers out, and I'm not gonna give a cost number, I gave that at the last meeting to NASCAR. I don't think I need to retrace those steps, but here's what you need to think about. You need to think about what you're going to invest to make this happen, right? And who's gonna pay for it? Me, you. Everyone in this room plus 29,000 other people, right? Ratepayers of Okanogan County, right? Who else is gonna pay for it? I don't think anybody's coming from Toledo, Ohio to come and help you out. Okay, here's the important point though. Now, if you get rid of your liability, i.e. the dam that's crumbling in 1971, you have the opportunity to remove it at virtually no cost to any of this. Right now,
Are you signing the check?
I can get it signed. I can get it signed. Right now, in the Habitat Conservation Plan, Tributary Community, mitigation, this is for mitigation for Wells Dam operation. This is Rocky Beach and Rock Island. They all have to pay mitigation for operating their dam.
Right.
Right now, there's over $10 million in those coffers. That's one side. Now, Grant PUD, they didn't have the capacity or the capability to meet the requirements of a habitat conservation plan at the time that the federal listing, this is for Summer Steel and Spring Shore, came into being. Okay, they got listed back in 1998. Anyway, the point is, the settlement agreement, Grant signed a settlement agreement. They couldn't meet these standards, so they had to actually contribute more into these coffers because they were essentially killing more fish. Also, the Peace Rapids Coordinated Community Habitat Subcommittee, I know, has over $10 million in it. So between those two, there's $20 million. Plus, as we stated before, the sediment study that we need to find out what's there, if there's bad stuff there, how much of it is there. That would be funded. That was funded, or at least submitted to be funded back in 2015. Through the Grant PUD mitigation dollars. Again, no cost to you. The study would have been done, it was through USGS, $92,800. Boom. We're not have to pay anything. That's mitigation dollars. The cost that you're talking about that would be attributed to dam removal, you don't pay. And then there's another agency, rhymes with TWA. They need a lot of mitigation requirements too. And you think about this, it's not so much, we talked a little bit about Summer Chinook and their jumping ability, okay, great. Summer Steel can outperform Summer Chinook by far and away in leaping ability. And the time that they return as adults is in the spring of the year. The discharge is higher, there's really no jumping at all. They're just gonna migrate along the margins where the roughness is, where there isn't a lot of energy. And do we know how many miles the habitat are upstream of the dam? 348 glorious miles. That's a lot of credits for anybody that's looking for mitigation dollars. And you don't think, no, Scott, you're right, I can't write the check. But I'll tell you what, I can get someone to write it. So that's just it. I mean, the bottom line is, cost to you to remove this dam, I'm gonna say pretty close to this. Cost to construct it and energize it, well, you can look at your own rates. So anyway, that's all I got to say for right now. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you.
You have to introduce.
I have to introduce myself. My name is Karen Hardy. I'm your candidate for state senate in the 7th legislative district. I know we're not in the 7th now, but the Enloe Dam is. So this has been a very important issue to me. I've been to multiple of these meetings. So I actually wrote down comments today because I'm tired and I drove all the way from Chewela to get here on time. So thank you first for being here tonight. I want to acknowledge your public service, although we do not agree. I am really grateful that you guys stepped up because no one else did. Just saying, guys. You want to change your PUD commission? Run for office. Nothing personal, but that's the way we change things.
That's right.
Jerry, you said that sediment behind the dam will cost more to remove. then they'll electrify. I think it was at the last meeting, but I think that's a fair assessment of your stance.
No, well, I was just adding a value using Chris's number, and that was just,
But the concern is, because we haven't
Right.
done a sediment study, that the sediment behind the dam. could
and
be
my
full of
number didn't involve toxic sediment, it was just mud.
Mud, okay. But that's what you believe, that you believe that that sediment behind the dam is part of the reason we should electrify it. And Bill, you said that we have a dam, we should use it. Fair? Oh, I said, Bill said that we have a dam, we should use it. That was what you believe. And Scott, you said that, the PUD could be liable. I believe you've said that if we could be liable for the toxins upstream, or I might have, if I've gotten you guys in the wrong.
No,
order, I
you're right,
apologize.
over time, I have said that all
Yeah,
along, yes.
that these are things that I've heard at these meetings, and these are things you believe. And I'm not gonna argue with anything you believe, that's what you believe, and that's a fair thing, because our founding fathers did an amazing job of setting up our government. And not only do we support what you believe, but we'll fight for your right to believe it. We'll also fight for your right to say it. Love my First Amendment, yay! But when it comes to being an elected official, they had a little different bar. They set up the rule of law, and they used words like reasonable doubt, not belief. Elected officials are not supposed to make decisions on belief, they're supposed to make decisions on fact. We use reason for government, we use belief for church. So, preponderance of evidence. The PUD elected officials, your decisions are required to be based on fact and reason, not your beliefs. And not your fact and reason, their fact and reason. So, the facts. This project is not financially sound. That's not a belief, that's a fact. And it's a fact based by multiple different agencies outside of your own. Fact, this project is unnecessary. I know you believe we have a dam and we should use it, but there is no actual fact why it's necessary to re-electrify this dam. It is unnecessary to do. It could just sit there unelectrified. Oh, but right, you have to take it down. So it's not necessary. And this project is against the will of the people. I have heard it every single one of these meetings, that you guys are the vocal minority. You know what? Decisions are made by people who show up. So the guys at Coffee are great, and I love them, and I go to coffee at Shannon's too. But decisions are made by people who show up. These are your ratepayers. They are showing up at every one of these meetings, and this is not the only one I've been at. This is not the only one you've been at. I'm in the minority. I'm running as a Democrat in the 7th. I know minority groups really well. I'm familiar with being in the minority. This is not the majority. I'm sorry. The majority of the people in Okanogan County do not support this. They don't support me either, don't feel bad, but they don't support this. So let's see. As elected officials, you are bound to serve the will of the people. $17 million has been spent so far on this project, and these people have gotten zero benefit. Fiduciary responsibility is part of your oath of office. They have received zero benefit for this. I would like this decision to be made locally. I honor these citizens, again, whether they support me or elect me or not. This is their county, this is their PUD. They have a right to make this decision. Your job is to support their will. If you continue down this path, this decision is going to be taken away from these people, and it's going to be taken away from you. Your TikTok clock started the 13th of September. You got a written notice for a lawsuit being filed against the PUD. Pass out everything. I don't know if you guys read it, but there is a lawsuit filed against the PUD by an environmental group on the Endangered Species Act. This decision is not going to be made locally if you keep going. These people have a right to their own destiny, and you're taking that away from them. There are other groups. Washington State Democratic Central Committee passed a resolution asking for the removal of the Enloe Dam. The South Salish Sea supporters have become interested because of the 300 miles of salmon habitat. This has become a statewide issue. These decisions will be taken out of your hands. These people have a right to their own PUD and to make these decisions. You have the ability to be the heroes. Someone said that earlier. I was like, hey, you took my line. You do. You have the ability to lead. you have the ability to do something that's only been done in one other place in this state, is to take down a failing infrastructure and to use it for the benefit of the citizens of this county. We can lead the way. We can add salmon habitat, we can add tourism, we can add economic development, and we can lead the way and show how failing infrastructure does not have to debilitate poor counties like ours, that we can actually benefit from this. Or you can be to oblivion and go kicking and screaming like they did in Port Angeles, and still the dam's coming down. So I want to help. Lots of people here have offered to help. You have amazing, educated people in this county who want to do this and do the right thing. Let us help you be successful. Thank you.
You had your hand up.
I did. My name is Craig Olson, and I live on Benson Creek between Carlton and Twisp. I'm a ratepayer, and it just occurs to me that Bill was concerned that the cost of getting rid of the dam could be astronomical because we don't know what's involved in those sediments. I think it's incumbent upon the PUD to know what's in those, because we don't want to be just kicking that down the road if it's a real problem there. You've got as Chris was saying, a failing dam, and it's not a wise thing to bury those sediments and ignore them. We should be knowing what they are and then dealing with that knowledge. So moving forward without knowing what's at risk, because you were talking about the huge risk, moving forward without knowing what the risk is irresponsible. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I have been to several.
Name, please. For
My Bobby Hackett. I am a ratepayer, citizen of Okanogan, adult. I'm educated in science, and I've had experience out in the field, and it is intellectually insulting that after 30 years of research and study and trying to get this project through, that you don't know the basic facts about some of these questions, basic issues that people want to know questions of. That's anyway. So what breaks my heart is that constitutional law is that we provide a democratic process for we the people to work together to make health and happiness for us and for solve problems. And this democratic process is how we hold ourselves accountable to each other. And I have been so heartbroken about the leadership and the way that the citizen is being treated by the Okanogan PUD. I have been in a meeting where 50 to 1 people were expressing issues with Enloe Dam. And as one person stood up and said, I support the dam, and a county commissioner stood up and said, those people will never change their mind. And so we are going to go ahead and do this. That is not good leadership. You do have an opportunity to be heroes, to be true leaders. The people that show up at these meetings have to write their name down. The people that you're meeting in the coffee shop, they're just those imaginary people out there that they aren't signing their name down and putting their opinion out. That is no way to make a decision about something as financially important, socially important,
I think on this commission, you have people that listen. I hope you're not pointing at us as not listening.
I am pointing at
I know, but you gotta understand, this group, Bill's been here a year, Jerry's 2, I've been here 3. We were saddled with this thing long before, and I ain't saying bad against the other commissioners. We're taking the time having these meetings and listening as much as,
But what difference does it make? These meetings have been going on for 30 years.
I wasn't
Why
alive.
does it make a difference what we have to say about it?
Okay, I'm just pointing out that we're taking our time and we are listening.
I drove
Okay.
90 miles to come here.
I appreciate that, I really do, I do. I'm just saying, we are taking our time, we are doing due diligence. Since I came on board, the first couple of years, I mean, Chris can even vouch for me, we opened up to anything and everything to figure out an alternative. I know there's some dispute on that, you can argue on that. I know you can.
Anyway,
I'm just saying that we are listening.
no, Kent,
We have to on dam safety, no matter what.
Kent Scully's patiently waiting up here.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name's Kent Woodruff. I live in Twisp. I'm a ratepayer. Jerry, I had a chance to vote for you in the most recent election. Bill, I haven't had a chance to vote for you yet. I see your signs throughout the county. Scott, you and I haven't had a chance to exchange support yet. Can you speak up a little? Oh, yeah. Steve, thank you all for being here and sitting on that side of the table and listening. These people obviously care. You guys said that you're the board of directors for this gentleman. These people are the directors
For us.
for you guys.
That's right.
So I think that's a really important point. I think you recognize that. I think you recognize the fact that these people are here to help you be informed about our concerns as your directors.
Mhm.
And so, for me, one of the things that I've done is I've written to the board, I've stated my opposition to Enloe Dam pretty loud and clearly. My boys, nearly 30 years ago, were walking the trail across the bridge and on up and spending time at the dam. I know the dam pretty intimately. I know the canyon pretty intimately. It's a place that I think has a really good possibility for enhancement if we remove the dam. I think the financial obligations that we would all bear if we continue with electrification are something that at least many of us are not eager to be saddled with. It's something that there are many of us that I've talked to that feel like there are plenty of facts that begin to change the balance toward not electrifying the dam and instead removing it. Bill, I want to just encourage you to not say there might be some huge costs. I think one of the goals for all of us is to be as informed as we can in the businesses that we run, in the ways that we operate our families. We try to inform ourselves as completely as possible and not say, well, I'm not going to make that decision because it could be something that could be very expensive. So I'm just going. I want to just help you in the future. Say, here's where I'm going to gain some more information. One piece of information that I haven't heard anything about tonight yet is the very significant issue of climate change. Scott, you talked about 2040 being a place where we might break even. One of the things that I've spent a decade trying to understand myself is some of the challenges that we are facing today and we're going to continue to face with climate change. The best information that I have available, have any of you looked at the climate vulnerability assessment that is applicable to our area here? It's the group of scientists,
about 170 scientists put together the best information that we have for climate change for this area. The North Cascades Climate Vulnerability Assessment, have any of you seen that?
I haven't, kid.
Okay. It'd be real valuable to take a look at. One of the key points in there, there's some great scientists from the Climate Impacts Group at the University of Washington. Some of the best scientists there tell us that over the course of the next few years, couple of decades, maybe 2 or 3 decades, by 2050, they expect that our snowpack is going to be very, very significantly diminished. 3% per year is what we are estimating at this point is the decline in our snowpack, the average decline in our snowpack here. We all know that the snowpack that we're experiencing this year was a pretty good snowpack. We had a big runoff. Those anomalies, according to the scientists, are not unheard of, but they're getting to be more and more and more unusual. The Colorado River Pact that was signed to adjudicate all the water for the Colorado River was allocated in the 1920s. Some of the wettest years that we had, and took advantage of the fact that here's the amount of water that we have. And the estimates were then we'll be able to put this much in Arizona, and this much in California, and this much in Nevada. One of the things that I challenge you, Scott, to be careful about is saying that we are going to project that we're going to be in good shape by 2040 based on
Current flows are just average flows over the history we base it off of.
Okay, so those average flows are not going to be the same.
But in the study you referenced, they also said we were gonna get 10% more water in this region. Not as much snow, but more water.
The problem is
Right, I mean, yeah.
when do we need electricity most?
Winter.
Is that true?
Yes, we are a winter picking utility.
Okay. So the availability of that, of the 2040 value, I want to be careful to make sure that that's taking everything into consideration. One of the things that would be valuable to me is for us to be able to look at the studies and information that you have that's helping you make the decisions, and I'd be happy to share as much in your direction as well.
It's public record. We can share it with anybody. I mean, decisions we've made or looked at, we haven't really made a decision other than what we're doing now. All that's available. You're welcome to it. I mean, if you have stuff that you can share with us, more power to you. I mean,
One of the key things that I heard Miawa say is that she feels like you're not listening. And I've heard other people say that too. I've sent stuff to you guys, emails. Bill, you and I met about a year ago and had a good conversation with Steve and others. And yet, one of the things that I haven't heard back is even an acknowledgement of the information that I sent. I'm eager to know that you're hearing from your board of directors.
Right. And that brings up one good thing, because I archive all the emails that everybody sends me, plus so does PUD.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have an abstract email, our firewall is so tight, we have trouble picking that up. If it's clearly identified as a person and a topic, then it's a lot easier for us to dig it out of the firewall.
Mine is Kent Woodruff.
Right, no, I've got yours, but I mean, some of the other ones are,
they are hard. I mean, you gotta imagine how many spam,
because
you do probably get them too. I mean, it's.
Because of where our servers are connected to the federal grid, our firewall is.
It's a decent point. Thank you for being our representatives.
Thank you for
So I
coming.
have a question, again. At what point does a decision get made, one way or the other? I mean, these meetings have been going on for quite some time.
Right.
Until the project's done, and then you find out that it's already been decided, or how does that work?
Well, no, the project, the timeline that we're under is previous boards endeavored to get a FERC license to energize the dam. And so that has been where the investment in the time has went to. But now we are to the point of, with the contract, to get a do not exceed number. So we have a number that we know what to make a decision on. Otherwise, we've just been making numbers on guesses. We keep working towards that point, because when you're working with the federal government, you don't do it in a minute.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're listening to all of us and we're saying that we don't want this, at what point do you go back to your people and say, we're done, ratepayers don't want to proceed with this, that's it?
Well, as you would state about, look, everybody's looked at facts.
I have one ahead of you, Kent.
Let me just close with one thing.
Okay.
That, I meant to say, I'm sorry, I didn't say. And you reminded me. So it's disappointing to me to come to the meeting tonight and just know that you got, here's what we feel. I think the most prudent place to be is, we're still gathering information. We're still trying to learn as much as we can. And we're gonna make the best decision that we can based on all the facts. We don't know, we haven't made a determination on where we stand. So I would rather have heard that when I walked in the door.
That's what I was
Thank you.
just gonna say to her. We're still gathering facts. Really, we are. We're waiting, we should know by the end of October,
We'll be closer, yeah.
somewhere in there, about the cost of what this do not exceed, like Jerry say.
Can
So
you explain the do not exceed?
what the cost of the dam,
So who sets the do not exceed?
That's what we have, that's the phase one contract. That is what they are charged with, is in the design build process.
the designers and.
It's confusing to me as well. I don't quite understand.
Well, because it's not conventional construction methodology, but we went to the RB and got permission to do it this way.
It's not a, there's no bid, it's not a design
Their
bid build.
Government
It's-
Oversight
it's-
Committee
right.
for the state of Washington, if you want to do this for this size of project, you have to have their opinion. They're construction business leaders.
What does that stand for, so that I can get it?
Public regulatory.
Oh, PRC?
Yeah, PRC, Project Review Committee, it's for the Capital Projects Advisory Review Board of Washington State. To get
But
design
$18 million has been spent already?
Yes.
19 million?
No, it's 17.
This number has escalated since we've sat here.
What is the number? What has been spent this far?
Your number, Commissioner.
Depending on what you include. I mean, is that including all of the successful litigation?
All the ratepayer dollars that have gone
Right.
towards a project that the ratepayers don't want, what has been invested thus far?
I've seen a lot of different things, but I assume the 14 million is the closest? Okay, 16 million before phase one, and that's where we are at. Yes.
Hi, I'm Ashley Grasher. I just want to say thank you for holding this. As you are aware, this is important for everybody to be able to come in and give you some comments, so thank you. I appreciate that. I also want to just kind of go on the record in support of a stakeholder group. I know you're faced with a lot of big decisions, and there's obviously a lot of entities out there that can help with those decisions and help shed light on this. And I respect and understand that such a big undertaking you don't want to commit to at this meeting after just hearing it. But it is in resolution, so that's great. But I understand that you'll have to go back and talk about that. Which leads me to my next question, or my question. It's my understanding that October 1 is the date that you'll get that 30% design build back, is that correct?
Yeah.
October 31st?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the end of October.
So I have to imagine that you won't make a decision at the next meeting to vote on whether you will commit to moving forward with such a big project after just one meeting. Is that correct? There'll be a process?
Yeah, the November, you mean the November meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
We
think, do you
haven't even-
anticipate a vote at that point on whether to move forward with that design build?
I don't.
I don't.
No? Okay. I would just encourage you to consider this buffer for stakeholder group, prior to that number that you get. That's a good 5-6 weeks, and then, you know, you won't be making the decision at your next meeting. So I encourage you to help start building that coalition right now to help get some support there. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I just have a brief comment about the topic of what it means.
Can you, again,
Yes.
state your
Chris.
name?
I'm sorry.
Because she's trying to keep up with us.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm Chris Frew from Carlton,
Right.
ratepayer, 30 years.
Right, no, probably just the name again for a second time or so.
Right. So about this topic of listening, I think I hear that there are some different understandings of what listening means, and I also appreciate that you guys are holding this meeting. I think it's great, and it is an opportunity, and I think you are listening in some ways. But I think that there's a couple of different ways that term is applied. There's a number of agencies that develop a plan or policy, and they plan to implement it no matter what. But they have a phase where they allow the public to blow off steam or have their, you know, do their thing, and then they go ahead and do whatever they're planning to do, right? We've all seen that many times.
We've had
That to me, a lot of times they're very good listeners. That's something different. We didn't have that 30 years ago. But a lot of the agencies have learned that that can be a valuable way to do what they originally planned to do without taking into account opposing opinions. Now, there's another kind of listening that involves responding to the concerns and directly and logically addressing the issues that are raised. So I would propose that the people in this room are interested in the second kind of listening. When they talk to you about whether or not you're listening, they're not saying whether or not you're just hearing the words and being here, which is actually good. That's a good thing. But to respond logically to the topics that are raised is another level of listening I think is being questioned. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you repeat your name for her? Okay.
one thing that I would say about the stakeholders group that's really important is that it's an education process, just not for just you guys, but for the public. It's really important in a democracy for the public to be able to be involved in the process, and it's a learning process for everyone. I think that's a really good thing. I had something else, but I forgot, so.
She'll come back to it.
We'll come to you, down to you, Karen. Yes.
My name is Steve Ralph. I live in Midtown Valley. Scott alluded to consideration of alternatives. The only documentation I've looked at is the luminous FERC license. And specifically, I focus on Exhibit E, which is the environmental aspects of it. But has the PUD conducted a thorough alternatives analysis? By alternatives, I mean not re-energizing the dam, but taking the dam out with full knowledge of the characteristics of the sediment behind the dam and the necessary remediation work that would need to be done. I have heard disturbingly references to how much it's going to cost to take the dam. They're out land measuring. I was involved in the old dam back in the 80s and early 90s, and I've heard that uses a cost basis, and that's a complete false equivalency. There are two dams, one's 100 feet tall, one's 200 feet tall. Enloe Dam is 50 feet tall and very narrow. There's not been much sediment relative to some of the volumes that we've seen elsewhere. The river is perfectly capable and transporting any accumulated sediments over the last 100 years downriver on any particular event. The events we had, full events we had this year probably would have cleared 80% of that sediment down below the dam. And since it's natural background levels of sediment input into the watershed, it's part of the prolific process that goes on in how watersheds function, so it's completely appropriate to let it go down the stream. Unless it has contaminants that we're highly concerned, in which we need to actually do those studies and have them paid for, and not worry about the self-incriminating evidence that would be generated by such studies, and get on with it. Thank you.
Karen.
I wrote mine down, Bobby, so I wouldn't forget. Karen Hurdy. Where does the license stand exactly right now? So the FERC license, I know we've had extensions, and where are we and when does that expire?
We're not.
Day.
So we received 2 years of starting construction, and that expires July 2019.
That's okay, that's what I thought. So, and what has to be done by that point? We have to be started or we have to be finished by that point?
Start.
We started as approved by the board.
It started by July
Yeah.
2019? Okay.
Started meaning,
There's different levels of starting construction. Do pre-construction for our phase 1 contract. We can design and approve by FERC with the different mechanisms from starting actual physical construction on the project. We take the delivery method of moving the water. Sometimes FERC accepts buying the turbine generator equipment as part of construction. There's different mechanisms.
And can we move forward while there's a lawsuit pending? So you're gonna get your, do not exceed number by the 31st, your next meeting is November. That's 60-day, lawsuit over the, day PCs started the 12th. So can you actually take a vote while that's pending?
As long as there's not an injunction, if, not being a lawyer, but I assume.
Okay.
which, to follow up on that, then, we're asking you to look at the true costs of alternatives in this day and age, not from previous studies done previously. And what I hear this group that's here tonight, and I assume they said this to you previously, but what we'd like to hear that if you are listening, then some indication that comments tonight have been heard and would lead you to take actions as we requested, such as, are you, without making a formal motion right here now, are any of you three interested in pursuing a sediment study?
Personally, I'm not, because those agencies that have jurisdiction over that haven't bothered to either.
Haven't bothered
To study that sediment, you know, there are,
because you have not moved towards that alternative.
well, no, there are water quality agencies in our state that don't see it as a problem as it currently is.
Don't see what is a problem.
The sediments, they haven't chosen to study. They haven't decided that they need to study. Personally, I think because there's a Superfund site up there, logical conclusion is that there's something in that sediment. Because if you go up the river for, 8 miles above it, or whatever it is.
So you're saying you're going to do the study? You're going to
No,
initiate?
no, I'm saying that's why I'm inclined not to, that the other elected boards and stuff have chosen not to do it. And they have expertise in rivers.
You mean the board that was?
Like Department of Ecology or any of those that have controls of our rivers.
But Jerry, you cannot have this both ways, because you guys. You guys say you want to proceed with electrification because you don't want to be forced to take the dam out because it's going to be too costly to remediate the sediments, but you're not willing to do the studies. to save the sediments.
All my sediment study has always been, that's just mud.
It's
You know what it costs to move mud in a dump truck?
The river's going to move all that stuff.
Yeah,
Jerry.
but then we're liable for every pump intake in the valley.
Not true.
Timing.
Timing is everything. Are people withdrawing water in the winter high
It
runoff?
seems like you're ignoring the question here. You're just kind of saying.
Well, no, I told-
We're not willing to do a sediment study
I-
because another agency, that's their job to do it, but you should be saying, well, I will contact those agencies and see how we can work in coordination with those other agencies to get this sediment study done, because this is.
Chris is gonna shed some light here.
No, I don't want Chris to shed the light. I'm here because of you. I am your director.
Right,
I am
right.
directing you to do the sediment studies.
Okay, Chris is next.
Billy also gathering information. You said you're a prolific leader, and I would think that data might be valuable to you to do that sediment study. How do you feel about it?
Chris, I don't, one, the sediment studies outside the parameters that FERC requires for the dam, but I, for electrifying, yes.
As opposed to removing.
Yeah.
Which you are still considering as an option.
Right.
You have said.
Yeah, we're still considering all the options. But my personal view, Chris, is it isn't going to answer any questions regarding the electrification of the dam.
No, but it would answer your concern about the cost of your options, your alternatives, which you are still considering, you keep saying.
I mean, you said sedimentation was a big reason you wanted to keep the dam, Bill.
It is. And my view is very much like Jerry's, in that even if there's nothing in that sediment, there's approximately 2.3 million cubic yards of it.
Which is nothing compared to what the Elwha moved.
Right.
Well, it's nothing compared to what the Elwha moved, but it is a substantial amount of dirt.
Okay, so it seems like there's two issues.
Now,
One
now,
is the
we're into a debate.
Yeah.
I want to clarify the question.
Yeah, but,
Because I think there's two topics on the floor, sir. The topic of the quantity of sediment, which you both have addressed.
Right.
But also, I know that Bill earlier did address the toxic nature of that sediment being a concern.
Oh, and that is a concern to me.
Okay, so if it's a concern, how do we find out if it's a concern? The only way is a sediment study. Am I correct about that? So if that's the only way to know, then either you're just going to make up the idea that it's either toxic or not, or we get the information, right? I mean, scientifically, isn't that the case? I mean, is there some other way?
Reason versus.
Or else you're just comfortable guessing, I guess what I'm saying, about that topic, because you're saying it's a factor in your decision.
Yeah, what I'm not comfortable with, Chris, because I mean, quite frankly, scientifically, that might be usable information for folks. My concern is that in federal agencies, if I don't know what's upstream from that dam, I don't have to mitigate it. If I do know what's upstream from that dam, then I do have to mitigate it. And again, it's not required for the electrification project. So
But there's supposed to be alternatives on the table. You keep saying, you keep referring to that we're gonna move ahead with electrification, but we are here all saying we are opposed to that and we want the other alternative of decommissioning the dam to be right up front and get the same credibility and study.
Which it has never.
It has never been done.
done.
You've all been fixated on one option. There's two options here at least.
the portion of it has been done, that's within the footprint of the project, and it met horizon levels, so that's why I'm not,
The portion of what? A portion for electrification?
yeah.
yes.
Wait,
Okay.
wait, if she specifically asked about studies on the cost of removal, not electrification.
No, sediment studies we're talking about here is qualitative study on what's in the mud. Right?
I mean, if we're looking at alternatives and
Right.
cost
Right.
versus benefit
Right.
analysis of this
Yeah.
project, and ratepayers are gonna carry the
Right.
load here of the cost of removing the dam or building the dam.
Right.
It seems that you're saddled with doing research on all of the alternatives that you're considering.
Right, right. And currently, if you assume there's no contamination, that's the least cost. If it's above that, then you're going to haul it all to Arlington, Oregon.
And so you won't know that though till
Right,
you've
but-
done the
but if
research.
the low
So
cost is
potentially
higher.
removing the dam will be cheaper to ratepayers. You
Right.
just said that, providing there's not toxicity in the mud behind it. It would pencil out to be cheaper
Well-
to remove the dam than to rebuild the dam.
Well,
What you just said.
no, I didn't say that. I said
Yes, you
that
did.
is the,
You did just say
I
that.
said that
You're on
of,
tape.
of the two options of contaminated, uncontaminated mud, uncontaminated mud is cheaper than
Contaminated.
contaminated mud.
Well, that's a given.
Right,
But what is
and
the
so,
cost with that? What
right.
is
The cost of
But,
removing the dam
right,
versus the
and,
cost of
and Chris supplied us with 2.5 million cubic yards, and if you remove that at $10 a dump truck, which you can't do, per yard, because it's wet mud, That's $25 million. That's without touching the dam.
And what about the monies that are available
Right.
through other utilities?
Yeah.
Like, we can't leave it on the table like $25 million is what ratepayers would be burdened with.
But, yeah.
But so in
But
conclusion.
nobody has come with us and said, we will pay you. They say, what if?
Have you looked into it? Have you pursued it?
What?
You have to write a request. They
Right.
don't come and drop it from a helicopter.
Okay, I'm getting to Chris. Yeah, yes?
Jerry, I'm sorry, but
Yeah. Chris has the floor. Yes?
so, here,
This is so, I mean, I just feel like I'm at Groundhog's Day, because I feel like it's same time now. So let me ask you this. So recently we had the hurricane in Florence, right?
Yep.
Right? How many millions of dollars is that gonna cost to repair? Billions, right?
Yep.
Right? Anybody's federal tax gonna go up? Notice? Anybody's gonna?
Probably. Federal taxes always go up.
My point is this. If you remove the dam and get the federal government to pay, which again, they are going to pay. Why do I feel so confident about it? You can't find anywhere in the Columbia Basin to get 348 miles of habitat for a federally listed species. Where are you gonna get it? Passage over Grand Canyon? You think that's gonna be cheaper than moving that whole dam? The problem is, your mindset is, when you energize it, the federal government isn't gonna pay it. We're gonna pay it. We're gonna take it, all of us, paying the full amount of energizing the dam. That's 30,000 people. Right? And what do you have against this? Why do you want to take money out of my pocket to pay for something we don't need? Do we need it? We're doing all right now. And then you've got an agreement with with Douglas County PUD, that any growth, they're gonna pay. And you got whoever negotiated that deal, hats off. Because I heard from Douglas County PUD that they're really dumbfounded as how you guys got that deal done. Because they could sell that power out of basin for a lot more than selling it to us.
Yes.
But you got a great deal. Kudos to you. But what I'm saying is, if you get the federal government to do this, this is the expenditure of removing that dam is spread out for 300 million people.
Let me ask you a
Not
question. Well,
30,000.
let me ask you a question. Does that take an act of Congress?
No.
No, I'm asking, does it take the Senate and the House to sign something to saying they're gonna pay it?
Not necessarily.
Scott, I've been a beneficiary of some of those funds.
No, I understand. I'm just asking if that's what my question
I
was.
applied for and got funds from the projects that he's talking about.
I believe you. That was my question.
I
Does
wrote
this,
the grant.
The mitigation money,
I understand mitigation money. I get that part. I was just asking about the removal.
what part don't you get, Scott?
Does it take Congress to supply the money for dam removal? That's what I'm asking.
Why are you asking us? That's supposed to be what
Because-
you are doing, is researching that.
So I had a follow-up to you.
Oh, yes, Chris.
Jerry, you said that the reluctance for the study, even though it was all would have been funded through Grant PUD, you said that Department of Ecology didn't support it?
No, they didn't apply for it, or they haven't.
They didn't need to apply for it.
Why? They're in charge of water quality in the state of Washington.
That has nothing to do with this. You had a grant funded
Right.
to do the sediment study, in order to find out what the cost of removal, the complete cost, because we don't know if there's some bad actors in there and how much of it is. That's going to change the cost of the removal. That's what needs to be noted.
Right.
And that's,
Right.
but that has nothing to do with DOE.
Right.
The cost was going to be, secured through Grant PUD, through their mitigation dollars, and it was going to be done by USGS. And I still have the submittal, and it would get approved tomorrow if we submitted it.
I'm down here. Oh, here's somebody that hasn't talked yet.
Hi, my name is George Schneider. I live in Twist. So I'm a ratepayer. And I've been following this project for many years. disclaimer that, you know, I have an interest in helping parties come together, but I'm not here to pitch myself, but rather to echo, maybe to elaborate a little on the question of process, because what I really want, you know, I'm a neutral party in terms of does the dam stay or does the dam go? My professional experience is actually as a hydropower engineer and dam builder, among other things, so I have a little bit of a appreciation for the resource. But really what I'm interested in is that my PUD makes sound decisions on my behalf and on behalf of my children and, you know, the county that we live in. So to that end, I wrote a letter to some of you and others that weren't, some of you were not here yet. And just a couple of pieces of this I think are good that maybe others hear as well. So, and I wrote this about a year ago after y'all were doing budget discussions with the community. So excerpts. Dear gentlemen, I've been following the developments related to Enloe for the past several years, including the budget discussion that took place November 20th. The resounding take-home message from that discussion is that the PUD is not enamored with the real electrification option. Rather, the commissioners stated they are pursuing it as, quote, the lesser of two evils, unquote. And it's also apparent that the other of the, quote, evils, dam removal, is an option that is largely defined by uncertainty, making it impossible to make a well-informed business decision based on true costs, benefits, and risks. So the other thing I wanted to read from this is where I suggest some concepts that, you know, are not new. They've been suggested here as well. I wrote, modern approaches to complex water conflicts bring together a confluence of committed stakeholders and leaders for dialogue, deliberation, decision-making, and risk-benefit sharing among the parties. It's important that such a process is structured to ensure that the PUD's critical interests and responsibilities, including FERC license obligations, sound energy planning, financial and rate stability, and resource and facility stewardship, are recognized and protected. The process should proceed in a stepwise manner so that trust can be built and the exposure to risk and cost for all parties is controlled and limited. So anyway, I don't want to belabor that, but I do think there's a need for improvement in the process that the PUD is undertaking, and you know, I'm certainly one of many other people that are willing to offer, you know, to participate in an improved process. Thank you.
Thank you.
She was next.
Bobby Hackett?
Yep.
My question is, when you get the data back from whatever the study is, and you have your numbers and base yourself on, what would be a trigger point for you for the cost-benefit analysis being too costly? What would be a red flag for you that would make you say, this is too costly?
To me, the first one is when we get, the first alarm bell is when it gets outside of our the original FERC license projection.
On cost?
Right, you know, because then you gotta look and see why we've exceeded that, and what's driving that, as far as the analysis of the cost.
What was that cost benefit?
That number was 31 million,
Right.
am I correct?
Right, so, somewhere in there.
And when will you do the cost analysis of dam removal to compare it to?
Well, that number with, you know, right now I'm comparing it, you know, because nobody set a bag of money on my table, you know, and said, if you go through this and you decide to go this way, I will give you X dollars.
Well, you probably need to pursue that, because you haven't
Right,
looked at that as a
but
second option.
we're,
You've only pursued one option.
no, we're looking at all options, but
Is anybody giving you a bag of money to pursue the
No.
Like the
electrification?
18 million or 16 million?
right. If we hadn't been litigated, it would have been a lot less, which we prevailed.
Well, why are you being litigated by your own people using their own ratepayer dollars?
I don't know. If we won, then we must have been making proper assumptions.
You must have been making improper decisions.
No, proper assumptions if we won the litigation.
In opposition to the ratepayers.
No, but that's part of the process. Okay,
But isn't looking at alternatives part of the process? Like
Right.
how are we a ratepayer supposed to go home tonight and
Right.
feel good like our PUD is doing due diligence and looking at what's best for ratepayers and most fiscally responsible to the ratepayers if you're not doing a cost analysis of all the alternatives?
I concur.
I mean, hello, this is so simple. I want to hear from you tonight that we are going to commit to doing a thorough analysis of all of the options on the table here that have been presented for years from the ratepayers as well as what are being presented tonight. And I'd like to hear you say, please come to the next PUD board meeting and let's talk about setting up a stakeholders group.
Or we'll get that information for you after we do the study, which will.
I mean, you're making decisions without being educated, which has been Okanogan PUD's history. So that's why people are telling you, you have an opportunity to do something different. This utility has an opportunity once again to step out and shine instead of going along with dragging an old horse. Why would you want to drag an old horse around that you've been saddled with because you are newly elected and this is what the direction the past folk were going? You're not the past folk.
Ashley was next.
Well, I think you pretty much just made my point for me. Yeah, I was wondering how you're going to show the ratepayers that you are doing the due diligence. You stated that October 31st, you'll get that number for that 30% design build, and that's fantastic. That's one side of the equation. We still would need the other side of the equation to make a comparison. That would be how you're getting, actually really looking at all the options. So can you help us to tell us how you will show that you're doing the due diligence for the ratepayers?
Right, I mean, you know, there's a large timeline in that, so it will have to be, you know, there have to be a process defined. You can't just say, I'm going to look at the Wall Street Journal tomorrow and know what the price of stock's gonna do. Yes, this is gentleman standing, face to face.
Michael or Bill?
Yeah.
Now listen to all this. The focus is 99%, either take it out, worry about what's behind the dam. Gentleman here just pointed out 47 years ago, that dam was in question, its integrity. What kind of studies do you have to justify going forward without knowing that dam is going to be there?
We do have a dam safety contract that is done every year, and
I'm sorry.
we have a dam safety contract. That work is always being done because the dam exists as far as the safety of that dam and for the long term. And we receive a report on that every year, every other year.
Do you know what they do? What do they do when they look at the dam safety?
They do water.
No.
No, we have a safety engineer, and then they meet industry standards and for requirements.
Is that an industry standard based on it being electrified, or is that an industry?
No, it doesn't
About
matter.
being a
It's
big
dam.
rock in the middle of the river.
Right, so, I mean, there's two different things here. Dam safety for an electrified dam is considerably different and a higher bar than dam safety for a rock in the middle of the river.
Not
No,
for this case.
Not in
No,
Ferk's
that's not true.
case. In Ferk's case, the dam's a dam.
Yeah.
So the dam safety that's being done would be relevant if it is electrified.
Yeah.
Does the dam safety study that you are having done, is it projected into the future? Do they say the dam is solid for 10 years?
Yeah.
Well-
Because that way we can budget what we can move forward. We're looking into the
Yes.
future.
So what is the time span that they're
Well, when they did the FERC license, they actually drilled holes in the core of the dam. You can look at the FERC report, it flat says they don't make dams like that anymore. Yeah. No, that is according to FERC and what we had to go through to even get the license. They had to drill the dam. What's that? No, I know it has, but that was says in the FERC license. That's based on the dam being drilled. Yes, it has.
Okay, we aren't gonna argue.
Anyways, I'm not gonna argue with you, but yes, those reports are
If we're getting
available.
information, we're getting information.
It's in our FERC license.
But my question didn't get answered. My question was, how long does the study project, obviously the dam's not.
They tell us it's okay for the next 50 years.
So 50 years was what they're projecting.
Well, there's no timeline. They say that's good for our license.
And so they're saying, that's 50 years. is
Yes.
the license. So they're saying the dam is a viable, and then after 50 years, it's a crapshoot, or we don't know.
Don't know. I mean, as Chris alluded to, there's some ripples in the water. That's one thing they study in the dam safety thing. There may have been some, like debris came over the dam, took a chunk out. There has been some wear. I know they've lost, what'd they say, an inch or two off the face, but erosion, it's 30 some feet wide, isn't it? And
It's just a spall.
yeah. We'll know more when we do the
And as the water,
dewatering.
new technology is going to be added to the dam as far as laser sensors.
And we have to do that either.
If we start to get a gain after 40 years and the dam's supposed to be viable for 50, how much of a profit are we gonna make in that 10-year span?
Well, the 50-year timeline is because that's the length of a FERC license.
I understand that, but there's no
Right.
guarantee how much it's gonna last after 50 years. You just said that.
Or we could get a renewal, and you could go another 50 after that. Could
We
be.
don't know if it's viable after the.
Well, and you might not. You're right.
So for this many years, we're waiting to kind of make good on the investment, and then maybe there's 10 years and then it's a done deal and the dam has to come out anyway.
And the money part of it, just to tell you, I mean, it depends on our power markets. Power markets right now are low. We all know power markets are low. I mean, there's abundance of natural gas, there's an abundance of, but they weren't always. I mean, you refer to the generators, and I understand. I was a kid watching them be put in, and I understand what was going on. But now I do understand. I mean, the time of the diesel generators, we had $25–30 million in a reserve account. We blew through it in 6 months because we were buying power in the open market that's cost $700–800 a megawatt.
Because of fraud.
You're right.
But we had no control.
We had no control of it. And I'm just telling you the way I understand the history and I've read it. So that's what I'm telling you. I'm just saying, like, to allude back to her and her 10 years, the last 10 years of the 50-year license. Maybe it comes profitable before that. I don't know. And maybe it never is. Exactly. I mean, it's like going to the crap staple and betting on the pass line.
So then my other question is, earlier in the meeting I came to, Chris basically presented all of the same information, how many months ago? Has
3.
anybody looked into taking him up on any of his offers, on any of the studies since that time? Because that's what, how many months ago?
3 months ago.
We do these.
It's been a long time ago.
I gave you
So
this.
almost a year.
Oh, no, I thought you were talking about the Tenasket.
No.
Because you offered it to us then.
So we're going year to year to year to year with information where some of these studies could have at least been initiated or looked into by any one of you guys sitting at the table. How many of you guys took him up on his offer and looked into it?
On the sediment? Nobody.
On any of it? Nobody. And why? I guess that's my question then, why?
Free removal.
I wish.
But you don't know, you haven't, no, you haven't even
So, and I'll just state, this is me personally. And I've worked with Chris and we disagree on things and I like the guy, he's a good guy and I know him.
Can I stop you right there?
Yeah.
I don't really wanna know personally, I wanna know from your standpoint.
I know,
as
well, that's where I'm
representing
getting
us
to.
in the room.
That's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
When I came on 3 years ago, they were all but to sign the thing to say, let's power through this, we don't care, let's electrify it. and Steve Houston, Commissioner Houston was on at the time. We took our time, we set everything aside. My very second meeting as a commissioner, they wanted me to sign something to say, let's energize, Enloe Dam.
Who's they?
The commissioners they were working towards that process. We took time, I've listened, I know we've gone to had some agency meetings with NOAA, I've gone to Department of Interiors, to ask them if they would be interested in removal. I know that we had a criteria that we listed. We would give the dam away to somebody free of charge, no money. If they just take 100% liability and we wash the PUD's hands. That's what we offered for years, and yet we've never had anybody sign up.
That's actually my
Nope.
question, though. I guess my question is what has stopped any of you guys from looking into the information that Chris repeatedly provides? How come none of you guys taking the initiative to take him up on any of those offers?
On the,
I mean, what's
which part?
stopping you, I guess? What's stopping
Well,
any one of you guys
well,
from
we
saying,
can't, we cannot act individually, we must act as a group.
right.
But you've had the information for a long period of time. You want someone to take over the dam, no
liability.
issue to the PUD,
Right.
all for that. And the way we do that is we get the sediment study done, which
Okay.
hear me out, which would be paid for, not by anybody in this room.
But you can do it afterwards.
This, but you don't know what you're buying.
After
Well, that's
somebody
right.
agrees.
But it's just like betting on a poker hand. I'm not gonna show you my
We're not
hand.
playing poker.
Okay, but it is for
Buy
us.
a car, if it's inside of it, you don't know what the car, if it's a Tonka toy or if it's a Lamborghini. You
That's
need to
good.
know. You need to know.
See, I think what's frustrating is, with all due respect,
I'm just saying
there's a
that was the
lot of
offer.
sophistication and experience in mortgage. People have worked on hydropower projects and worked on mitigation banking for 20, 30, 40 years. We have a lot of expertise we can bring. You guys haven't, frankly.
Right.
Right?
Nope.
But yet you persist in holding heartfelt myths about how the world works, that we are telling you it doesn't work that way, and we can help you through these obstacles, so to a happy future for everybody.
Rick hasn't talked yet.
Rick Gillespie, the chief's office. And it seems like everybody here is asking for cooperative here. And I went onto your website before I came down here because I just wanted to check a couple of things out. One of the things I noticed was not there was the fact check. You used to have a series
It's not
that
on
you
there?
asked,
The FAQs?
the fact check, that little symbol that you have on your website. And I don't know if there were frequently asked questions or if there were questions that you brought to the floor and trying to answer for ratepayers. But a lot of those answers were not correct. They were false answers. And we're trying to develop some kind of a relationship here with our representatives on this board. We gotta have information from you that's factual, not something like the rest. And maybe that was set up by a previous manager, I'm not sure where that came from. But I notice it's gone now. So I applaud you for taking off the false information. And if you're going to put it back, please tell us the truth.
I don't know the actual timing, but we are updating our website. And Jerry was telling us we're gonna update it soon, but I don't think that should have affected what's on the website.
The facts are still on there and they're under Enloe Dam. I think it got pushed off the homepage, the big facts.
It's not on the, it's not an animal.
I think it's at the bottom of the project update.
Well, could you please review those answers? Because I
One more, I see everybody's kind of getting tired, and we've been at this for 2.5 hours. And we are going to have future public.
Carlton, the old English teacher, retired. And because I might have some Irish blood in him, he's very frustrated and angry. But it seems to me we need to be proactive and productive. So I, as your printer, am requiring you complete that soil test behind the dam before you do any other decision-making, and you have it ready at your next meeting. And if it takes this gentleman to help you do it, then that's his assignment. Let's get real and let's get honest. Because we've got a lot of garbage going on in politics throughout our entire nation, and I'm so sick of corruption. And I want honesty and hard work and respect from you.
This is a great list of names and addresses for all of us to stay in contact. Is it okay if I take a picture of it? Any objections?
That'd be great.
It's a public document anyway.
So let's do something. Make a decision tonight.
We can't.
Can't,
What's going on here, the commission?
we can't, we're not gonna.
Open Public Meeting Act, would you like to go to,
Do it at the next meeting.
No.
what? No.
Non-executive session.
No, can't do it in
You cannot make any
executive session.
decisions in executive session.
We can't do
When
it in
is your
executive
next,
session.
when is your next, regular meeting?
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
What's the date?
8th of October.
8th of October. Is there a possibility that you could?
We try to, but it sometimes depends on the calendar.
That you could have information that would lead to a motion or resolution that would, start to initiate the use of the grant money for the sediment study?
I mean, you know, that's probably part, or can be, you know, if we have information, viable information at that point, yes.
Can you put that on the agenda as one of the agenda items for your October
Are you
8th meeting?
interested in doing that? Because I heard Bill make a very important point, which probably nobody else in this room buys into except for the 4 of you, is that what they don't know won't hurt them. And so they are not interested in truth because they assume there is no public liability, not yours, mine, public liability, as long as they don't know. But they do know there's a Superfund site up there. So how can you say you don't know until you actually do the work? It's like the dog did not eat your homework yet. You just didn't turn it in.
Don't resist. This will benefit us all. I don't understand the resistance, and that's been brought up several times. Like, why are you so stuck on electrification and have done very little to look at decommissioning of the dam? Like,
Which includes improving a watershed, removing toxins, bringing health to your community.
saving ratepayer dollars potentially by millions. You can't even make an informed decision until you've looked at all the alternatives. You've turned over every stone on all the alternatives that are considered. You wouldn't do that on your place, Bill. You wouldn't be making decisions on your place without being full knowledge of what's happening, you know, what the repercussions are or what's the best benefit in your own lives. None of you, or your cattle, or anything.
Oh, we do it all the
Look at
time.
all of it before you made a decision. And so
called
you're making
ranching.
decisions for us, and we're asking you to please, 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 look at all the alternatives. Look into, Chris is like so willing, the community, there was at least 10 people who have expertise that have said, I want to help. Please, I will come, free of charge, to help.
A lot of them with PhDs, high-level degrees in water science. I mean, we're talking some high-level operators here tonight.
Don't resist. What is the resistance? Please, just let that go and let's cooperate here. Put it on the agenda, please.
Where are we at?
It's unconscionable for our children and our grandchildren. What you're proposing to not look because there might be something that we could be liable for in the future.
Or because you don't want to do it, so you're not going to look at it because you don't want to
Okay, we're getting repetitive, so.
No, we're just asking for you to make a commitment. Please, will you
Yeah.
please say the words?
can't-
Yes,
No.
we will put it on our agenda to have a discussion about looking into the sedimentation and the cost analysis of dam removal as we move forward with looking at the cost analysis of electrification.
Right.
It's such a simple words to say,
Right,
yes, we will
but
commit
it is a
due
decision that
diligence.
we can't make under the Open Public Meetings Act, which,
No, you can, if your constituents, if your directors are asking you to put something on the
Can't do it by
agenda for
law.
discussion, you can't say, yes, we will open that up for discussion on an
we,
agenda in a public
we can
forum.
place it on the agenda through our regular process, but the board can't make a commitment as a public
how
board.
would
You can put it on the agenda. How do we get it on the agenda?
And by talking to Steve,
I've already wrote it down.
yeah,
Okay, Steve, thank you.
So,
Yeah,
have you
'cause-
committed
'cause-
to us, it's on the agenda, that we will
because
discuss
he
this topic?
helps formulate the agenda.
Yes?
I put it down on the agenda that we bring it as, up as a discussion.
No, I want to decide if you're going to do the test.
I can't
Soil
make that
analysis.
decision. It has to be done in the foreman, and it has to be voted on by the board.
Discuss, and I want you to take a vote on that.
Be open to information presented.
There's
So
a lot
tell
of
me why you
information.
can't take a vote on it.
Well, tonight they can.
No,
but on the
October
agenda.
8th.
We can't even October 8th. We have a two-meeting party. It'd have to be the meeting after that.
Okay,